Call the meeting to order. Welcome to the Rutherford County Schools special called meeting on November 14th. Caleb Tidwell will introduce our Pledge of Allegiance.
You'll have to bear with me a little bit. I've lost my voice, but we have some special guests with us tonight. That's from Christiana Elementary School Choir. They performed this past Veterans Day in honor of those who served in the armed forces. And I'm going to pronounce the names, but y'all forgive me if I don't get them exactly right. We have with us Allison Anderson, Carrie Anderson, Bailey Davis, Peyton DeLeon, Elena Gortney, Audrey Sagria, Aubrey Singleton, J.C. Mitchell, Letitia Orso, Harlow Crome, and Paisley Trueheart. We also have their director and principal, Mr. Chris Lafferty, at the piano tonight. If you'll please stand as they lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and then please remain standing for the national anthem.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bomb bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, send us that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you so much. I'll give you a second.
I would also like to recognize our music teacher, Miss Tara Polson, and Alice Rubio.
Let's give them a second to clear. We will now have a moment of silence. Thank you. We will now have public comment. We have two parents that are going to speak today. I will call you to the podium. You will have 3 minutes. There is a light on the podium that helps you with time management. Our first speaker is Mr. Charlie Eblin.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak tonight. I would like to start by saying that I understand and I agree that there are times we must make changes in our school zones to ensure all of our children receive the best education possible. But today, we do not need to rezone without the land, approvals, and funding for new schools. In the last 5 years, my district, my area, has been rezoned 4 times. This didn't solve the problem then, Yet we still continue to do the same thing in belief that this time it's going to do something different. Now we're being asked to rezone again, and it's not only going to cause hardships, but put our children in a large safety risk. Just yesterday, we had a fatal car accident crossing the same railroad tracks that you are proposing our children cross multiple times a day. The residents in Rutherford County are facing a significant challenge. Our growth is one of the largest in the country. But the proposed zoning changes threaten our move of our children from a school 2 miles away from my house to over 10 miles away from my house. A 5-minute drive to hours and hours extra each week. This is not just about changing schools, it's about the added time and financial burden that this move would impose on our community. Blackman schools are an integral part of our lives. It's where our children have formed friendships, engaged in enriching activities, and received a quality education that prepares them for their future endeavors. Moreover, its proximity to our home has made it convenient for us as parents and guardians. The proposed zoning change would mean longer travel times for students and increased transportation costs for families. According to the American Automobile Association, the average cost per household would be an average of $5,000 per year when considering fuel costs, maintenance, insurance, depreciation, time, etc. Moreover, research indicates that long commutes can negatively impact student performance due to stress and less time available for homework and extracurricular activities. We believe this unnecessary burden should not be imposed on our children. With that being said, I stringently object to the rezoning of our schools and have a petition with hundreds of signatures from Rutherford County residents that feel the exact same way. There are not any long-term benefits to this rezoning until elected leaders of our school board fight for the approvals, land purchases, and funding additional schools. We will continue to have the same way. We urge the school board to consider these impacts before making any changes. Let's fix the root cause of the problem, not put a Band-Aid on a broken arm. This problem isn't going away without proper schools and leaders in place. Thank you for your time.
Sir. Cindy Daniel.
Thank you all for allowing me to speak tonight. I find myself much at the same place I was almost 2 years ago when this same proposal was introduced again, and it was affecting the same area. I have 3 children that this would impact. They attend Blackman Middle School and Blackman High School now. They'll be 2026, 2028, and 2030 graduates. Our hope is to keep them all at Blackman schools. The ask, I think of, just like the other gentleman said, you know, I can speak for myself. We didn't buy our house to go to school at Blackman. We ended up going to, you know, being zoned for that school, and it's been great. We're helping build the legacy we are Blackman, which is hard to build if you're constantly having to worry about getting rezoned. It's hard to be invested when you're constantly having to worry about being rezoned, and then leaders are voting to possibly tear down what you're trying to build. I believe it was in early 2022 that this same proposal was pushed out. There was concept maps. Several people in the community came. That proposal wasn't passed then, so why are we going back to the same thing that was denied before? There's several things that hadn't changed. The commute, the train that often blocks both Singer and Florence. The other alternative is going down Old Nashville Highway, a 2-lane road, narrow bridges. You've got buses trying to do that, pulling out on Thompson Lane. I've measured the distance that would take from my house each day this week, mornings and afternoon at the time, the length of time. I mean, the distance didn't change, but the time drastically changes. It varies from 25 minutes to up to 45 minutes. You can't plan, and it would impact the kids. They would get less sleep. If they're trying to do extracurricular activities, I mean, it took me 45 minutes to get to Siegel yesterday afternoon at 5 o'clock, which you would have to be going if you were going to a basketball game to drop off students. The impact that this would pose on our students emotionally, academically, athletically, and financially, it would be very difficult for them to help with, you know, getting a job. And as parents trying to get kids all over town, if you had a student zone for a middle school, and then you're trying to get high school students across town or to see their events as well. Siblings want to attend the same school as their other siblings. Right now, I think, with the one that's going to be a senior, hopefully he would be grandfathered in, but there's going to be 2 younger ones that want to attend the same school. Families want to build a legacy at that school. They invest time, they invest money, they invest hours and hours of volunteer work trying to build up where their kids go. What has changed? Growth. We can't change growth, but what we can do is how we vote to impact the future of our communities. Inflation. We can't change the cost of equipment, but we can let our kids stay where we've already bought that equipment, where they've already invested in an athletic program or an academic program. Thank you for your consideration in allowing our students to remain at a school they start at, a school where siblings have attended and legacies are made. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Daniel. I want to remind my board that if you would like to speak, if you will just call my name, don't do this because I might not see you. So call my name or call Madam Chairman so that I can make certain that I call on you, okay? All right, we're going to start with number 5, elementary school zoning.
All right, so we have first elementary school zoning, and just as a reminder of how we got here, in 2022, the Board of Education contracted with the firm of RSP and Associates to undertake a detailed study of our schools and school zones to make proposed recommendations to help the school system address overcrowded schools and handle continued growth year after year. Since being engaged on this project, RSP and Associates has toured and assessed our schools, compiled and studied local demographic information such as birth rates and data on transferring students, examined plans for new subdivisions and housing developments, and met with multiple staff members at both the administrative and school level. In addition, the board and RSP have conducted multiple public hearings regarding possible rezoning options for the school system and reviewed the public comments on the same. RSP has now made several rezoning recommendations to the board. So we have the first one being elementary school. Recommended motion to approve the elementary zoning boundaries as presented. John Coleman Elementary, Laverne Lake Elementary, and Smyrna Elementary School will take effect during the 24-25 school year so that the Roy Waldron Annex can be used for other district programming. The remainder of the school zoning boundaries will take effect for the 25-26 school year upon the opening of the elementary school on the Beatty property.
Now open for questions, comments?
Ms. Bratton, were you just going to be, I'm sorry, Ms. Bratton?
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry.
It's okay.
So,
It's your birthday, it's okay.
Thank you very much. So are we just going to talk about each one individually?
Yes,
So right now, we're just going to stick to elementary schools, correct?
right here.
Okay.
There are 3 different motions on here.
Okay, so
Okay.
right now, so I just want to get clarity.
Okay.
We're just going to be speaking right now just on elementary schools.
That's correct.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Who else has something? Yes, sir.
My concerns here, listen to the gentleman speak there. We are about to make a decision on something tonight that we really don't, it's not anything pressing to make this decision. We don't have any schools ready to open. We don't have any additions ready to open. We could postpone this decision until we have more concrete information. We haven't got through our budget yet. We still got a budget process to go through, and we don't even know what our funding is going to be for our budget. I would ask that this board really consider postponing this decision until we have more information and can do our due diligence. I don't feel like we've done our due diligence with this plan.
Anyone else?
Ms. Bratton, I have to agree with Mr. Coy-Young about postponing, but I'm going to hold off on some comments when we start speaking about the middle school.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Ms. Sharp,
I move to approve the elementary.
do I have a second?
Second.
We will have a roll call vote.
Mr. Young,
No.
Mr. Tidwell,
Yes.
Mrs. Darby,
Yes.
Mrs. Maxwell,
Yes.
Ms. Sharp,
Yes.
Mrs. Rosales,
Yes.
Mrs. Bratton.
Yes. The motion passes. We will now go to number 2, middle school zoning. Dr. Sullivan?
Mr. McDaniel, will you bring up this one street that I asked you to look at? So there is one, so one of the board priorities was to ensure we kept neighborhoods together as much as possible. There was one neighborhood that was brought to our attention late today that is part of the Stonewood subdivision across from Almaville Road. This is part of Stonewood, I believe, Phase 3, and it is Mandarin Court with 11 houses. So I'm going to add that to my recommendation as I read it. Just wanted to say where that neighborhood was. I had to go to Real Tracks and find Stonewood, I believe, Phase 3. So middle school zones are for the 26-27 school year and require a new middle school on the Beatty property for implementation. Recommended motion to approve the middle school zoning boundaries as presented with the change to add Mandarin Court to Stewart's Creek Middle School instead of the new middle school. Evaluation of new enrollment trends and attendance zones to occur at least 9 months before implementation, since this is several years away.
Comments?
Move to approve.
Just a minute. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So I want to show the board some subdivisions that are within a mile radius, within half a mile of where Florence Road is, that are coming up. These are 3 subdivisions. This subdivision is on the back side of where Baker Road is and Blackman. And then heading over, which this impact that area. Also want to show some subdivisions that are along the line of Rocky Fork, Almaville, that a year and a half ago, this is just some of the signs, we're not even there. So you've got this subdivision here, this subdivision, this subdivision, this subdivision coming up, this land that is getting ready to for new development, and more land's getting ready to move for development that were not there in prime example. Also would like to show the train that was shared in the Singer Road in Florence at a standstill in the middle of the afternoon, because this is what happens. It doesn't move, it just stands, not just on Singer Road, but also on Florence Road. So with that, I would like to make the following statement. 657 new people coming per month into Rutherford County. We have, in our population currently, 18% are age school children. I don't know the percentage, if it's broken down by county or city. Also, we have a net of 178 new homes per month and 62% open spaces or agricultural use. That's what we have currently in Rutherford County. I know I am just one vote. Without the firm commitment for funding new building projects, such as a new middle school, a new high school, and possibly 2 new additions, it is not the time to pursue rezoning the middle school and high school boundary lines. We're possibly looking at the possibility of rezoning once again and adding portables in overcrowded schools in 2028. I'm not in favor of shuffling kids around the county for the sake of filling the open seats. I believe it is crucial for us to promptly establish a comprehensive game plan to address our schools' building capacity needs and secure funding for upcoming projects. Despite recent discussions among other board members about the need for a comprehensive building plan, I was the first one to advocate for a master plan with timelines back in the fall, emphasizing the importance of clear direction in determining our course of action. I was pretty vocal about establishing a vision, so we knew where we were headed. I said this because without a vision, it will be difficult for parents to understand the reason for rezoning. This rezoning plan is incomplete. Parents are an integral part of our conversation and play a crucial role in shaping the decisions that impact our educational community. They have spoken loud and clear. They express a strong preference against having their kids shuffled around the county. Some parents were students before, and they experienced the same shuffling around the county as well, because the problem with growth has been occurring for the past 2 decades. I want to highlight that back in February 22, 2023, I supported seeking the funding for the 3 additions, even at a school that was not overcrowded due to security reasons. I made the motion, and it was a unanimous decision to vote for the 5-year building plan, option 1, that included the 3 additions, in addition for Blackman High School, in addition for Laverne High School, a new elementary on the west, a new middle school on the west, and a new high school on the north end. I can say that I have been advocating for the needs for the entire county because we're not Blackman Rutherford County, Laverne Rutherford County, Smyrna Rutherford County, Riverdale Rutherford County, Oakland Rutherford County, Siegel Rutherford County, Rockville Rutherford County. We are one. We are Rutherford County. For whatever reason, Blackman has been left out of the conversation pertaining to growth and overcrowding. The Blackman High School boundary has been changed in the past rezones and now is possibly being changed once again. The parents are frustrated. I too join them in their frustration. As Rutherford County experiences unprecedented growth, certain areas are expanding at a faster rate, placing immense pressure on our school infrastructure. Over the past 2 decades, this growth trend shows no signs of slowing down. We must confront this challenge head-on, prioritizing long-term solutions over temporary fixes that continue to put a Band-Aid solution over the problem that is not going away anytime soon. The time for action is now, demanding stakeholders to unite, collaborate, and devise comprehensive strategies. Shuffling students from the west side to the east side of the county is not a viable solution, as the ongoing growth renders it ineffective in addressing the increasing demands of our resources. We must shift our perspective on education, particularly in high-growth county, and recognize that thoughtful consideration of classroom space is uniquely as important to fostering effective learning environments. The old way of doing things is no longer effective. It's time for a new way of doing things that produce long-term results. I acknowledge that this is a complicated situation, and members in our funding body are doing their best. However, we, the board, we need to roll up our sleeves and collaborate with them and with others to find meaningful solutions that produce better outcomes and positive changes. I implore upon the board to come together and support the development of a robust, comprehensive master plan that addresses the needs of our new building program over the next 5 years and possibly 10 years. We need to stand behind it. And for us to advocate and collaborate with our funding body and director of schools to secure the necessary funding before making any decisions on rezoning the middle and high school boundary lines. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Madam Chair.
I heard Coy first, and then I'll come to you. Mr. Young.
I have to agree with a lot of things that Ms. Rosales just said there. Rezoning is not going to get us out of rezoning. The only thing that's going to get us out of rezoning is building. We have got to get focused on building schools. We spent more time on rezoning maps than we did looking at our 5-year budget. We talk more about rezoning than we do our 5-year budget. That's unacceptable. You're right, we have got to start doing business different. We got to start thinking about things differently. If we're going to fix the problem, it's time to roll up our sleeves. We just had a meeting last night, Mr. Sullivan and Joe Carr, our finance directors. We all got together and we started trying to put a plan together how we come up with funding to fund the buildings that we need. Now, that's just a start. There's a lot more work to be done. And we need to do our due diligence in trying to figure out how we're going to fund this county's growth. We do not have a plan to fund this county's growth.
Mr. Tidwell.
Dr. Sullivan, how long have we been working with RSP on this?
Well, the original motion was by the previous board, would have been in the spring of 2022. Then I think their contract started in September or October of 2022, so quite a long time.
Yeah, I feel like that we have done our due diligence for the information that we have and where we are currently at. We're not going to be able to build as fast as we need to build. We don't get to choose our funding. That comes from the county commission, but our job is to send to the county commission what we have need of. We have sent to them what we have need of. Moving forward with this middle school zoning will put the pressure back on the county commission to show that this plan, even though it is not perfect, it will help us in this middle school zone where if we don't have a plan, we'll have portables all over this county again. At some point, it has to be addressed, and from the school board side, our option is rezoning. I think this plan is not perfect, but it is, as I mentioned to someone earlier, we are working with sand, not concrete. It doesn't mean that we cannot revisit this. It doesn't mean that this is going to be implemented perfectly. There may be adjustments along the way. It is, 3 years off. So there's time to make change. But we need to give direction, and I believe that it's important that we move forward with this plan.
Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
I would just like to remind the board, we had a similar situation with the salary study and the company we hired to do that. And the question was asked of Dr. Sullivan, if he liked the work they did, if he was happy with what they did. I would ask those same questions to you now of RSP, sir.
Yeah, I absolutely am. Are there changes that may have impact before 2026? Sure, and that's why we have it in there to revisit in at least 9 months before implementation.
I do believe we have done our due diligence. We have the best interest of our students and our staff at heart. Some of our residents are lucky enough to not know what it's like to have your child sitting in a closet to be taught. Some of our teachers are blessed enough to not have to be teaching off of a cart. That's not the situation everywhere. We're trying to make the best of a not great situation. It is not set in stone. I like the idea of revisiting prior to. I also like the idea of moving forward with these plans that we have been having studied, which did take into account new subdivisions and new growth, so that we can give parents a plan as to this is the plan, and unless something goes completely sideways, this is what will be happening, so that people can make adjustments if that's what they need to do. Myself and Ms. Sharp did drive the Blackman area in question from some of the emails. I drove, she didn't, if her doctor's watching. Just to check and see, address some of the concerns. We do care, y'all. This isn't fun for anybody. I, as a parent, nobody enjoys rezoning. We don't, y'all don't, nobody likes it. We do have to understand the reality of where we are, and unfortunately, some of those zone lines have to be moved. If it's not me or you, it's somebody over there, but it's someone somewhere. And I do believe that this board is trying to make the best decision for the county as a whole, for the majority of our students and our staff as a whole, what is going to be best moving forward. And this was done in an effort to try to minimize rezoning in the future. That's just how I feel, but please understand that I don't think anybody on this board doesn't feel your pain. It's not fun. Nobody's enjoying it, but we have to do something.
Thank you.
Madam Chairwoman.
Yes, ma'am.
This has been a really tough process to go through, and I know it's upset several families, but I have to agree with Ms. Darby and Mr. Tidwell. We have done our due diligence, and RSP is a wonderful company that has taken a painstakingly unbiased view of things. In the past, I can't sit up here and say that I thought the zoning has gone that great. I think that we could be accused of sometimes cherry picking what neighborhoods we wanted. That hasn't happened here. And I just want you to know that we do care about this county, and we are committed. If the county commission thought I pushed them hard before, they have never seen the push that we're going to get. We've got to get some schools built. And as long as I'm up here, I will be pushing for new schools.
Ms. Bratton?
Yes, ma'am.
I will say to the board that the county commission has spoken, and they have said that there is no funding for the middle school to the public. And they've also said that we are at borrowing capacity to the public. So I understand everyone's concern, but I also would say that if we do not get the funding for the middle school and for the high school, we're looking at, in 2028, having to bring portables into Siegel High School because it's overcrowded at 111.9%. There are 0 portables right now in Siegel. And so we're doing this because we're trying to take students out of the portables. In Blackman High School, even though it's 101.6%, I didn't even send the pictures of the subdivisions that are coming on the back end, and I don't even know if it was in the study, maybe it was, but they just literally started breaking ground and clearing path this week on Franklin Road. So we've got subdivisions that are popping up everywhere. I understand that the board does not control new housing development, not a single one. But we are tasked with educating people, and we are tasked with finding classroom space. And we need to work together with the county commission and come up with creative ways into how we're going to fund spaces for these kids to come in. And since I've sat here, I was the very first one to be vocal about buying land. And I got a lot of heat, a lot of pressure on social media over buying land. And if you don't believe me, go to Facebook, find my campaign page, and read every single comment there. But right now, we need to work together and collaborate with our county commissioners and our delegation to figure out some things that will bring revenue to the county, because right now, we do not have the revenue. And they've already said to the public, because I didn't say it, and there's some people that were there that heard it, that said that we do not have funding for the middle school. And I know they're working really, really hard, but we need to work together with them to figure it out.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. As a resident of the North End and 10,000 homes coming in on Waldron Road, we've got to do something. We have to tell the county commissioners what we need. It's their job, not our job, to figure out how to fund it. Whether they want to do a tax increase, a transfer, if they want to give everybody $1 of tax, it's their job to fund it. We have to make a plan. And this, going forward, we have to start somewhere, and we can't piecemeal this. Madam Chair, I call the question.
Second.
Question has been called.
Second.
We do have to vote on question. Did y'all know that? Roll call vote on question.
Mr. Tidwell?
Yes.
Mrs. Darby?
Yes.
Mrs. Maxwell?
Yes.
Ms. Sharp?
Yes.
Mrs. Rosales?
No.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mrs. Bratton?
Yes. Question has been called and passed. I will now entertain a motion.
I move to approve.
Second.
Move to approve and seconded. I will ask for a roll call vote.
Mrs. Darby?
Yes.
Mrs. Maxwell?
Yes.
Ms. Sharp?
Yes.
Mrs. Rosales?
No.
Mr. Young?
No.
Mr. Tidwell?
Yes.
Mrs. Bratton?
Yes, the motion passes. Number 3, high school zoning.
All right, high school zoning, so recommended motion to approve the high school alternative zoning boundary as presented for 25-26 school year. So just to make sure everybody's clear, that is the alternative zoning boundary as presented for 25-26. Evaluation of enrollment trends and/or any new additional facilities funded by the county commission to occur at least 9 months before implementation. And Madam Chair, if I can, just one thing that I think I've talked to several board members about.
Yes.
On the alternative, there are a couple things that we do need to look at before it gets time to actually go and put students there. That's why the 9-month portion is important. The South and Rockville side is growing. We left room at at Riverdale, and if that does not grow as quickly as anticipated, we have room at Riverdale to move some of Oakland, which is sitting at 2,700 on this, which is too many students. We have room to move those students, but we would need to look at that. My recommendation is 9 months to 4 to see how many dominoes do we need to truly move. And so there's a lot of dominoes that could fall, but I don't think, my intention would not be to leave any school at 2753, which is what Oakland's projection would be. There's been a lot of conversation around that, so I just wanted to clarify my intention on that.
Comments? No comments, no questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Rosales?
No.
Ms. Sharp?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
No.
Mr. Tidwell?
Yes.
Mrs. Maxwell?
Yes.
Mrs. Darby?
Yes.
Mrs. Bratton?
Yes. Motion passes. All motions have passed tonight. The board will be revisiting some of this in the fall. We're going to see where dominoes fall, see about our funding, see where we get with the county commission. I want to thank you all for being here tonight. I will entertain a motion.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
We are adjourned.